It is so much easier to buy something when you know the price of it. After all, if you give someone 20p for a TV, you're probably not going to get it. And there is no better place for that than the transfer window. Thankfully, Leeds now know the price of a huge key target, and that will be a big foundation on which to build and hopefully eventually sign him in this window, because the Whites' star target price has now been set and we can step forward. Hi, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to talk through how much Leeds offered in their first bid for the player, how exactly John Rowe at Norwich suits our needs, what Leeds United think that we can get him for, on the counterpoint, what exactly Norwich want for the winger, what Rowe himself wants. There's been a video that's emerged that I think could be very interesting here, if a deal can get done, and ultimately, are we ready for if he doesn't come? So first up, we need to start with exactly how much Leeds United offered, and the initial bid was something around £7 million. We heard that yesterday or the day before, I can't quite remember, but Leeds United were in for John Rowe and apparently immediately rebuffed, but we likely knew that that amount of money would be rejected because it was lower than his value was going to be. We knew this, and I think the issue with that is it's a slightly different way of starting the conversation. You can start the conversation by saying to a club, hi, how much are you going to sell this player for? But if they come back to you saying 15 million quid, that becomes a lot more difficult. If you're saying, we've got £7 million, can we sell this player? Not only does that sort of potentially make him think, oh, Leeds are in for me, and potentially push for a move a little bit more, but it sets the agenda at that lower sum. Effectively, it opens the conversation, which is the most important thing to do at that stage of trying to sign a player. Again, sorry if you can hear cars and stuff. I've got the window open because it is boiling. Now, John Rowe does definitely suit all of our needs before we get into what exactly the price tag is, because I'm just going to sort of set the stage of how important getting the signing would be. He is honestly kind of perfect. He plays happily on both flanks. I had a quick look at his heat map and it is equal on both sides of the pitch. And I was like, right, okay, I don't know which side you tend to start on. So I had a look at the season before and he does the same thing. And I had a look at his FA Cup appearances and it's only on the left, but then I looked at the Carabao Cup and it's only on the right. He can play on both sides very effectively. He's primarily left-footed, got 12 goals last season, 2 assists in not even a full season of football. So he would almost certainly replicate a big chunk of what Crescencio Somerville does. He's got a proven goal-scoring ability, but importantly, he's very young and he has space to grow with a lot of potential. That's why I think signing him permanently would be the move. I doubt we'd get him on loan anyway, but because we'd have another asset to grow with us as our club continues to grow. And based on that £7 million bid that we knew would be rejected, that tells me that Leeds have some idea of what we think we can get him for. And reports are that inside the club, the sentiment is we feel we could get him for 10 million quid. That's not Norwich's valuation of him. That's just the internal conversations. But it does explain the £7 million attempt, because we've already proven that we are willing to improve offers this season. That Jayden Bogle initial offer that we made of about 4 million quid, we ended up paying £1 million more than that. But that was when Sheffield United apparently valued him at 7 million. So that lower bid compared to that higher bid, we ended up in this area rather than up here. It's effective and it really works. And I think on the Norwich side, the sale of Gabriel Sara definitely sets a sort of precedent. They sold him to Galatasaray for, I think, 23 million euros when they valued him earlier in the window at significantly more than that. But they've proven that they rather need money because the parachute payments are running out and they are already making big losses year on year on year on year. And that means that they're likely to need to sell. But how much do they want to sell for? Only Norwich can say, so let's talk about what Norwich want. I've had a few conversations with various people, both on the Norwich side and had a look at a few reports. And the report on the Norwich side is that they might need double that figure, double that £7 million. And I think the Leeds hierarchy might have looked at our 7 million and their 14, 15-ish million and gone, 10's roughly in the middle. And that set the idea of thinking that we can get him for 10, especially if we add some nice little bonuses. If we get promoted, they get another 2 million, stuff like that. And I was having a conversation with a Norwich fan recently, and they had a little bit of a conversation about how they thought potentially losing Rowe was inevitable this season. Because he specifically said, if we're going fully into this rebuild, then maybe we have to put up with a year or two of the squad being stripped. Not ideal for them. And also, at the same time, for us, the Sara thing isn't ideal for us because it's a double-edged sword, because now they've got 23 million euros or whatever it is to say, look, the bank's improved, but it's not necessarily covered all of the gaps. But having a look at John Rowe's contract, there is another little benefit for us in that his contract agreement says that it's basically now or never. He's got 1 year left. Admittedly, there is a further year after that, but that is sort of a clause that is able to be activated by the club. So in essence, 2 years. Rule of thumb says 2 years is the ideal time to sell a player, because we know that next year his price is going to drop severely, because the year after that he could go for free. I mean, at the moment he could go for free next year because it's only a clause from the club that hasn't been activated yet. So in theory, we're in that 1 year period, and Norwich are in a spot where they're like, well, shit, we kind of need to sell now if we want to get any value out of him. And that's without even considering what exactly John Rowe wants, because a video has emerged of him talking about various stadiums and atmospheres. He talked about Anfield, Old Trafford, Elland Road. And a specific line that he said in the Elland Road discussion stood out to me. He said that Elland Road was incredibly loud. And even though he lost, he was in awe at the stadium. And specifically, he said, I want to be on the other side of that. That's the reason he gets into football, to have that crowd interaction. And add on to that, he's at a very, very decisive age. He's 21 years old right now, which means that he is about to hit that peak of his career. The next contract will be the one that defines him. And he's got a decision to make as to whether that is in Norwich, whether he sets the foundation for that at Norwich, or he comes to Leeds and builds up from that point and becomes part of what I genuinely think will be a promotion-winning squad, because look at the players that are in it. Gabriel Sara, incredible. Mateo Joseph is just getting started, and he scored something like 4 in 3 in pre-season or something daft like that. I think from Rowe's perspective, this is a move that makes sense. And from our perspective, is this a deal that gets done? It seems like a very, very genuine yes. Yes, it won't necessarily be cheap. That £7 million is a starting point of the discussion. But I do feel it might be closer to the 10 than the 14. Because Norwich are in a position where they kind of need to sell. And they can reinvest that and make sure that the squad looks okay and fantastic. But if we're looking for an attempt to replace Crescencio Somerville's ability for a reasonable cost, I think we can't go wrong with Rowe. They will lose him now, or they will lose him next season. They probably want the money now, and that means a deal is looking feasible. But if a deal doesn't happen, are Leeds United prepared? I also genuinely think, yes, it's that simple. The amount of conversations we've had around Raksaki shows that we are being very versatile, and there will be a list of potential wing targets that we are looking to sign in the event that the Rowe thing goes wrong. Rowe will be at the top of the list, but there will be a number 2, a number 3, a number 4, etc., etc., etc. We don't even know that Rowe is number 1 on that list. We just know he's a very good winger that we would like to see at Elland Road next season. But that's what I think. I genuinely think there is a good chance of him coming. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Just a simple yes, no. Do you think John Rowe will come through the doors at Thorpe Arch this season? We'll have to find out. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you haven't yet. As I've mentioned recently, for every subscriber, I'll be donating to 1p to Prostate Cancer UK on the opening day of the season. That'd be absolutely fantastic if you could help with that. Even become a channel member. It's just 99p, so you might as well. Hope you enjoyed. I will see you later. Ta-ra. I didn't know it before, but it turns out that HMS Pistol League is a rowboat. Ta-ra.